Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Let's Build, where I build it and then showcase it for all of you to enjoy, play, or criticize. Whichever you prefer. So today we're looking at a deck that doesn't get a whole lot of play. And that's because the archetype is much more of a destruction engine than it is a overall good engine for a deck. So as you guys seen from the title card, we are looking at the Kaijus today. Almost 100% pure Kaiju, just a small splash of something else, not even an engine. But that's for the profile. We're talking about good old Kaijus today. One with Godzilla, King of the Monsters, right around the corner. Hashtag not sponsored. I thought it'd be a good idea to do this, because I was going to look at vampires, but I decided Kaijus instead, because the movie's coming around and that Kaiju search history might be up and running, and I need the views, or I want the views, I should say. So, for anyone who is not interested in an explanation of the Kaijus and where they are, you can go to any of these timestamps somewhere around in this area to either go to the deck profile or the replays directly to view how the deck is played, or see the deck profile and I will go over everything in it and explain why it is in there. But for the rest of us that are here who may not know, who are new to the archetype of Kaijus, let's talk about Kaijus as a whole, and in a non-specific way. So, the first thing to understand about Kaijus is that each player can only control one Kaiju. It is a specific effect on the card themselves. The second thing to understand about Kaijus and why they are such a powerful destruction engine is the fact that they are all printed with the same effect, that you can special summon them to your opponent's side of the field by tributing one monster. Now, since this is an inherent special summon, or it's a monster card summoning itself by its own effect, this cannot be stopped by stuff that would negate or it can be negated, but the tributing of the monster cannot be. It's basically a cost without being a cost, because card text. But anyways, you are going to tribute their monster and then special summon the Kaiju. If they try to Solemn Strike it, their monster is still gone. That is what makes Kaiju such a powerful thing. They also, because it is a special summoning effect, it does not target. So, since it does not target, cards that cannot be targeted are just going to be tributed off. Since it is not necessarily an effect that is tributing the monster, cards that are unaffected by other card effects are affected by a Kaiju tribute. That is why a channel that is much bigger than mine likes to say, just tribute the fuck over it. And I wish they would print a shirt of it, because I would wear that shirt. It's so hard. But now, there is another effect. Obviously, if you're going to have Kaijus, and Kaijus are known for battling one-on-one, well, how can we have Kaijus battle one-on-one if you only have one Kaiju on your opponent's side of the field? To resolve that issue, there is the second effect on Kaiju cards, and that is that you can special summon them from your hand to your side of the board if your opponent controls a Kaiju monster, thus setting up the Kaiju face-off that we all know and love, just in a cardboard form. So, the last thing to understand about Kaijus is that they have two spells and a trap that generates Kaiju counters, and each Kaiju has its own Kaiju effect that involves taking Kaiju counters off of any card on the field. So, the thing to look out for is when you are handing a Kaiju over to your opponent, if you hand them a powerful Kaiju with a powerful Kaiju effect and you have Kaiju counters on the field, they can use them against you. So you have to be careful and think about which Kaiju you are giving them and which Kaiju you are giving yourself past just big numbers go oof. So, with all of that said and done though, we can now move on to the replays, and you guys can see how this pure Kaiju build operates in motion. Alrighty, here we are, the profile. Hopefully not too many of you went ahead and skipped ahead, but here we are in our profile, so let's get to it and get this done, because this will not take long to explain. As you saw in the replays, you really want to go second with this deck, so that way you can establish, you let your opponent kind of set up their board, and then you start Kaijuing or board wiping with Interrupted Kaiju Slumber, to force it into a more simplified game state of you punching over your monster or establishing something like a Gamma Seal to get negates, which I didn't establish very often myself, but is something you want to do because Gamma Seal is sick. Really busted. Anyways, so you're going to want to play 3 Jizukiru, the Star Destroying Kaiju, 1 Thunder King, the Lightning Strike Kaiju, 3 Dogoran, the Mad Flame Kaiju, 2 Gardaria, Gardarla, the Mystery Dust Kaiju, 3 Gamma Seal, the Sea Turtle Kaiju, 3 Radion, the Multi-Dimensional Kaiju, 3 Kumongus, the Sticky String Kaiju, and then 3 Neospatian Grand Mole. Not a Kaiju, but you saw in the replays, he's super useful. Then you have 3 Pot of Indulgences, 3 Interrupted Kaiju Slumbers. Thank you, Banlist, for giving us that back a couple times ago, or a couple banlists ago. But anyways, 3 Twin Twisters, 3 Kaiju Files, 3 Kyoto Waterfronts, 1 Jar of Avarice, and 3 Kaiju Capture Missions. And the extra deck we will go over here in a minute. So, what are these Kaiju effects? As I established in the opening, and as you saw there, or in the introduction, and there, they all tribute a monster on your opponent's side of the field to special summon themselves over there, or you can special summon them to your side of the board if your opponent controls a Kaiju. That's why we play so many Kaijus, because you want to see at least 2 at any given moment. Preferably 1 to hand to your opponent and 1 to keep for yourself. Jizukiru over here as a quick effect. When a card or effect is activated that targets exactly 1 card and no other cards, quick effect, you can remove 3 Kaiju counters from anywhere on the field to negate that effect and destroy 1 card on the field. That second part of the effect is extremely powerful because it is not the card that was activated. You can blow up part of their board because you can negate something. So if they activate something, target one of your monsters, you can negate it and then destroy a part of their board. Pretty powerful and pretty fun. The only problem is it has to target exactly 1 card, and sometimes that can be hard to come by. Thunder King, the Lightning Strike Kaiju over here. Once per turn, you can remove 3 Kaiju counters from anywhere on the field in your opponent's cards, and effects cannot be activated for the rest of the turn. Also this turn, Thunder King can attack 3 times on monsters. He is extremely strong and can go into an OTK style variety. I tend to did not want to run the deck in that way, which is why I'm only running 1. If you want to go into a more attack heavy OTK strategy with him, definitely bump him up to 3. You have Dogoran, who can remove 3 Kaiju counters from anywhere on the field to destroy all monsters your opponent controls, but he cannot attack the turn that effect is activated. So you got to be careful with that a bit. I don't use Dogoran too often, but he is a good board nuke if you need him to. Gardarla can remove 3 Kaiju counters from anywhere on the field, and the attack and defense of all monsters on the field become halved. Pretty strong, pretty awesome in my opinion. Gamma Seal, you can remove, as a quick effect, you can remove 2 Kaiju counters from anywhere on the field to negate a card or effect and banish it. That's right, banish. Not just destroy, banish. That is why Gamma Seal is sick, and these effects are not once per turn. So he can just keep negating as long as you have Kaiju counters. Then you have Radion, the Multi-Dimensional Kaiju. You can remove 2 counters from anywhere on the field to special summon 1 token that is basically a copy of him except with no defense and no effect. So Kumongus, the Sticky String Kaiju. When your opponent normal or special summons a monster, you can remove 2 Kaiju counters to make sure that that monster cannot activate its or have its effects negated, and it cannot attack until the end of the next turn. Extremely helpful. Then you have Neospatian Grand Mole. Grand Mole's in here because at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can return both the opponent's monster and this card to the hand. So you can special summon a Kaiju to your opponent's side of the field, special summon a Kaiju to your side of the field, normal summon Grand Mole, attack, and bounce that Kaiju back to your hand, allowing you another tribute and an open board for one of your Kaijus to swing in for their big old body damage. So next up we have a Pot of Indulgence, and this is where we're going to talk about the extra deck. So Pot of Indulgence, you can either choose to banish randomly from your extra deck face down either 3 or 6 cards. If you choose 3, you get to draw 1. If you choose 6, you get to draw 2. There are a lot of conditions on this card. 1, for the rest of this turn, after this card effect resolves, you cannot draw any other cards, and you have to activate it as the very first card on main phase 1. So it has to be the very first card you play, you have to banish cards, and then you cannot draw cards for the rest of the turn. But in this deck, that's not really a big issue. This is the only draw spell in the game, is the only draw card in the deck besides 1 jar, so you're not really drawing too often, and you don't really care about activating it first, and the extra deck is literally just full of Link 4 monsters in my build because although you can go into some Xyz or you can try to run tuners to go into a synchro play, honestly you're only ever going to control 1 Kaiju because that's an effect of theirs. You can only control 1 Kaiju monster at a time. So you're not going to go into plays except for on very, very rare occasion. So in my opinion, it was better to run Pot of Indulgence and just banish useless Link monsters to net you more advantage. So moving on along, we have Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. You destroy as many monsters on the field as possible, then special summon in attack position 2 Kaiju monsters with different names from your deck, 1 on each side of the field. But they cannot change their battle positions and must attack if able. That is the first effect. It is an extremely powerful card, but you do have to look out if your opponent avoids destruction, say by the use of the effect of Baelinks and Salamangrates. Then, because the monsters were not destroyed, then if you did not destroy any cards, so if they only have 1 Salamangrate, they activate Baelinks. If they stop the destruction, so they have 1 Salamangrate out, you activate Interrupted Kaiju Slumber, they use the effect of Baelinks to avoid destruction, you will not special summon any Kaijus. You have to destroy at least 1 monster for this effect to work. Now, during the second effect, is during your main phase, except the turn that card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish it to add 1 Kaiju from your deck to your hand. You can only activate 1 Kaiju Slumber per turn. So, on your next turn, after you've activated this, you can banish it from your graveyard to search for a Kaiju to tribute the heck out of their monsters. That's right, the heck, not the hell. Tribute the heck out of their heck. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Next up is Twin Twisters. Pretty self-explanatory. Discard 1 card, then destroy 2 spell traps on the field. This is in here specifically because Mystic Mining is a card, and it can slow down your Kaijus from using their effects, which isn't really that big of a deal. But it also stops them from attacking, and that's kind of how this deck wins. It's by attacking. So I decided to run 3 Twin Twisters because I don't play matches, I play singles, and did not want to lose just because Mystic Mine is running around like an awful, horrid card. And it helps you deal with back rows and troublesome cards anyways. Next up, we have the Kaiju Files, a continuous spell card. Woo! Yay! Each time a Kaiju monster is special summoned from the hand or graveyard, place a Kaiju counter on this card, maximum of 5. Once per turn, you can target 1 Kaiju monster on the field and destroy that monster. Then special summon a Kaiju monster with a different original name from your deck to its controller's field. So if you destroy 1 on your opponent's side, you'll special summon 2 your opponent's side. And then you can send this card with 3 or more Kaiju counters to the graveyard to add 1 Kaiju spell trap from your deck to your hand, which can allow you to search for your field spell or Kaiju Capture Mission if you need them. I had to do that during the replays, but overall you're normally going to want to keep your Kaiju Files on board so you can have access to those counters. Because, yeah, they will rack up quick in a pure Kaiju build. Don't be me. Make sure to activate your Kaiju Files before you start summoning Kaijus. At least it's not a finger gun, I guess. So up next is Kyoto Waterfront. Each time a card is sent from the field to the graveyard, which does include when cards are activated and then sent to the graveyard, such as a spell card. Once per turn, while 3 or more Kaiju counters are on this card, you can add a Kaiju monster from your deck to your hand. Again, don't be me, and remember to activate that effect. And if it would be destroyed by a card effect, you can remove 1 Kaiju counter instead. So, it's really hard to kill. It's going to produce Kaiju counters like there is no tomorrow. It does have a maximum of 5, but you're very rarely going to get there because you're going to be activating your Kaiju effects fairly often. to try to maintain what little board advantage you have established. But a great card. I almost ran Terraforming to try to see it more often, but I thought I was running okay with Pot of Indulgence and the Kaiju Files. We are running 1 Jar of Avarice because this deck doesn't do well on the grind, because it is constantly trading monsters. Because you are constantly going to be tributing and killing your opponent's Kaijus, and then they're going to kill your Kaiju more than likely, and you're going to have to just repeat the process all over again. Jar of Avarice will reshuffle them back into your deck so you can search them out, and you do get to draw 1 card. It is the only other card in the deck that draws. Last up is Kaiju Capture Mission. Once per turn, if there are less than 3 Kaiju counters on it, you can target a Kaiju and change it to face-down defense position. Then place a Kaiju counter on this card. This is really nice because if your opponent kind of has a mean effect, you can activate that and then flip their Kaiju face down, so they can't do stuff like use Gamma Seal shenanigans. But you will have to deal with Gamma Seal's big booty defense. But you can also use it on your own to try to spare your own life points, or if their Kaiju, for some reason, is about to attack you, you could activate this card to, I don't know, put it in defense position like I didn't do during one of the games. Editing these episodes. I always see my misplays, and I always hate it. Always. Always. Now, if it is destroyed by an opponent's card and sent to the graveyard, it does get the effect that you can draw 2 cards. So I guess there is more draw. But on average, this is not going to be destroyed after you activate Pot of Extravagance. And honestly, a lot of people I haven't had anyone blow up Kaiju Capture Mission. I guess I got lucky. Yay. Woo! But that is my pure Kaiju build. When I did my recording for my replays, I actually just threw this deck together and then played it 5 times, recorded it, and then went. So those are actually the first 5 games I played. Just whatever I played, I kept. I was pretty happy with them. I made some mistakes. I didn't play test this because I knew it was going to be a goofy deck and I didn't expect a lot out of it, but I think it came out pretty well, in my opinion, for being pure Kaijus. If you want a Kaiju deck that runs better, I would suggest running Kaiju Gradles, or Kaiju Relinquish is kind of a funny little build I've seen. Kaiju Yosenjus, although Yosenjus are a little outdated at this point. You might be able to find some other fun Kaijus. I briefly thought about experimenting with a Kaiju Should All build, where you basically spam Super Polymerization by attributing one of your opponent's monsters, summon a Should All Super Poly into one of the various fusions. But that's kind of a complicated setup, and I don't know how well it would work, but I might try it out, and if it works well, I might make a little video showcasing it. Probably not a full-fledged Let's Build, but maybe a showcase if I do get around to it and try it out. But that's all I've got for you guys this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you didn't enjoy the video, put it down in the comments and just say why. If you did like the video, do the same. Put something down in the comments. I love reading the comments, and I try to reply to every comment, except for you, Mission Quest thing. You comment all the time, and I know you, so I'll probably respond in person. So that's what happens when you live with them. You can respond in person, or I can text them. Yay. But if you have a deck you would like to see me build on Let's Build, put it down in the comment section below. And if you don't mind, include what level of deck you would like it to be. If you would like it to be more competitive, if you'd like to see it more casual, if you'd like to see it super budget even, I'm willing to try to do super budget builds for non-structure decks. I've only done one, but it was really fun, and I am thinking about doing one for either Salamandrates or the Zombie Horde structure deck in the not-so-distant future, maybe even the Endymion one. Even though the Endymion one is really fun, but really complicated to play. A lot of intricacies on there. But if you have a deck or anything, put it down in the comment section down below, and I will look into building it and giving it a good test in the run. If a lot of you request the same thing, I will inevitably play it, because I like making you guys happy. I also like watching you guys cringe when I make misplays, and I do that all the time. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. And hey, have fun.